Phar Mor was a United States chain of discount drugstores that opened in 1982 and closed in 2002. Welcome back to my channel. If you haven't already, please hit that subscribe button and notification bell so you get notified of my latest video. Go ahead and hit that like button and leave a suggestion or a comment. You might see that in a future video. Thanks for watching, and now back to our regular scheduled program.
Shop the grand opening celebration at the Phar Mor not far from you.
Phar Mor came into existence as an affiliate of Pittsburgh-based Giant Eagle Incorporated, a $1 billion family-owned grocery store chain with 50 locations. In 1981, Giant Eagle had acquired Tamarkin Company, a privately owned grocery store chain and distribution firm. Within a year, Giant Eagle heir David S. Shapira and former Tamarkin Vice President Michael J. Mickey Monis established Phar Mor Inc., an entry into the fast-growing deep discount drug segment. The two businessmen seemed to confirm the adage that opposites attract. The charismatic Monis developed a reputation for flamboyancy in the otherwise stuffy drugstore industry. He reportedly traveled with an entourage by white limousine, for example. Shapira, on the other hand, was described as a member of Pittsburgh's establishment. Phar Mor used many of the techniques established by deep discounters, and additionally adopted a strategy that helped make Walmart a national phenomenon: power buying, or placing the largest possible orders for merchandise in order to secure the best possible terms. Phar Mor earned a reputation for hiring shrewd purchasing agents who were proficient at negotiating the best wholesale deals from vendors. Their high-pressure tactics sometimes strained supplier relations as well. Competition intensified dramatically during the mid-1980s as many mass marketers and independent entrepreneurs joined the deep discount segment. Although a relative latecomer to the segment, Phar Mor more than kept pace with the industry's rate of growth. By 1987, the chain had nearly 70 stores, and a year later, it opened its 100th store. In 1990, Phar Mor surpassed the 200-store mark, becoming the leader in the industry. As it grew, its merchandising mix expanded from prescription and over-the-counter drugs and health and beauty aids to include more general merchandise, including office equipment, sporting goods, apparel, videos, music, and frozen foods. At the grand opening of the 300th Phar Mor store, Monis announced a corporate goal of 340 store openings over the next 5 years. Even retail giant Sam Walton admitted that of all his competitors, he feared the Phar Mor juggernaut the most. But before the month had ended, the fears harbored by many of Phar Mor's retail rivals evaporated in scandal. To the shock of most observers and to the dismay of Phar Mor creditors, investors, and suppliers, on July 31st, CEO David Shapira accused Monis, CFO Patrick Finn, and two other high-ranking officials of plotting to defraud the chain of $10 million in cash and exaggerate the chain's earnings and inventories by hundreds of millions of dollars over the course of 3 years. A flurry of firings and finger-pointing ensued. Shapira fired Monis, his protege Finn, and two other executives, and the chain's outside auditor, Coopers & Lybrand. Phar Mor subsequently accused the accounting firm of a grossly negligent, intentional, or reckless failure to uncover a massive fraud perpetuated on Phar Mor. The lawsuit, one of several scandals that tarnished the accounting firm's reputation in the late 1980s and early 90s, sought compensatory and punitive damages. Coopers & Lybrand in turn sued CEO Shapira for not catching the fraud, as well as Monis, Finn, Monis's father, and Jeffrey Wally and Stanley Charlesstein, two former Coopers and Lybrand accountants who had transferred to Farmore. For their part, Finn and Wally confessed to the fraud but implicated Monis as the ringleader. His accusers traced Monis's problems to the 1987 foundation of the World Basketball League, a professional association for players under 6 feet tall. Former Farmore CFO Finn, federal investigators, and even Monis's co-owners in the WBL alleged that Monis had embezzled millions to cover the league's costs and had conspired to inflate the value of Farmore's inventory in order to garner executive bonuses and other financial advantages. Its August 1992 collapse coincided with the revelations of a multi-million-dollar sham at Farmore. By mid-August, when anxious vendors began detaining shipments, Farmore filed for bankruptcy protection under Chapter 11. By the end of the month, Shapira laid off over 1,000 employees and wrote off what he hoped were the total damages, $350 million. At the same time, it became apparent that the entire deep discount drug category was in trouble. Aggressive pricing from conventional drug chains, supermarkets, and mass merchandisers undercut the discounters' price advantage. Over-expansion by the leading chains had saturated key markets. One expert placed the blame on strategies that had formerly been recognized as some of the keys to Farmore's success: excessive inventory, oversized new stores, and straying far beyond core merchandise into such areas as computers and sporting goods. Antonio C. Alvarez was brought in as interim CFO. He quickly closed more than 1/4 of Farmore stores, reducing the payroll by about 20%, and negotiated with creditors to save the company's $233 million. Farmore's new management team was able to win the financial support of creditors and convince suppliers to ship merchandise, but these measures did little to reverse declining sales and low morale. In January of 1993, a federal grand jury indicted Michael Monis on 129 counts of fraud. He was charged with one of the biggest swindles in the history of the United States business. The suit accused him of defrauding Farmore's investors of $1.1 billion and the chain itself of $11.1 million. Monis was eventually convicted of having embezzled $10 million. He was sentenced to 19.5 years in federal prison and served 10 years. By the end of 1993, the chain had closed or sold 167 of its 310 stores, slashed its employee payroll from over 25,000 to 9,800, and shed merchandise lines to concentrate on health and beauty aids, drugs, and food. Farmore emerged from bankruptcy protection in January of 1995, with 143 stores remaining, only to be hit hard once again by competition from other larger retailers such as Walmart and Target, which began opening new stores with pharmacies. Farmore was unable to compete and was forced into bankruptcy for a second time in September of 2001, only about 6.5 years after it had emerged from its prior 3-year-long bankruptcy. Farmore became weaker during its last years of business. The company tried to return to its power buying concept before it had filed for bankruptcy, but to no avail. Without power buying, Farmore found itself directly competing with CVS and Walgreens, and lost out because of other chains' convenient locations. Farmore's second bankruptcy was eventually to result in its total liquidation. In July of 2002, a judge in Youngstown approved the sale of Farmore's Inc.'s $141 million in assets and inventory. Going out of business sales began at the pharmacy's chain's remaining 73 stores. Youngstown area assets were purchased by Giant Eagle in bankruptcy court. Hey, you just watched my video. Thanks for watching. Hit that like button and please subscribe to Eric C. Productions.